Health is not found in prescriptions. It is reclaimed through intention. Welcome to the Voice of Impact, where belief meets action. Our podcast amplifies stories, systems, and solutions behind meaningful change. I'm your host, Robert Ndoping. Today's conversation challenges how we think about health, performance, and personal responsibility, and what it really means to take ownership of our biology in the world full of so much noise and misconceptions about health. My guest today is Deepak Saini, a four-time board certified expert, speaker, podcast host, and two times international best-selling author whose clients hire him when complex health challenges demand uncommon solutions. After spending 20 stressful years in the corporate world and personally overcoming autoimmune disease, obesity, and a serious back injury, Deepak brings both clinical depth and lived experience to his work. He helps high performance reverse biological aging, optimize health, and elevate performance, especially when conventional approaches have failed. As a father of two and a lifelong learner, staying at the forefront of emerging health science, Deepak's mission is bold: to shift the paradigm around long-term health, empower individuals, and reduce their dependence on broken systems, and also cut through the media noise with clarity and evidence. Deepak, we're excited to have you today on the Voice of Impact.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
So, I always like to start here. Before we talk about biological aging, high performance, and all of those amazing things that you're doing, what's your story? What was happening in your life, especially all through the 20 years in the corporate world before you got to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Robert. And I have to go a little bit, rewind a little bit back to almost like near birth. I was always sick as a kid, chronic ear infections, bronchitis, you name it. I was on antibiotics like all the time. Um, I was always, from middle or elementary school, I was always the chubby kid too. And that just got worse. When I was 18 years old, I've been classified as morbidly obese. And like many people can probably relate, whether they work corporately or not, you're just trying to make it through the day, make it through the weekend. You can relax, get that next promotion. Every life will become better when. A lot of stress. I was in, management when I was in the corporate world, responsible for a big team, young family, all the stressors. Um, Plus, I was unhealthy with those two main things you said: autoimmune condition, undiagnosed, and 100 pounds heavier than I am now. But in 2014, I hurt my back. Couldn't bend over at the waist. Couldn't put on my shoes and socks. Very painful. Getting in and out of a chair, including the toilet, very painful. But the real low point was my youngest daughter was just a baby, just a few months old. I couldn't bend over and pick her up out of her crib. 10-pound baby I couldn't pick up. That was my low point. Um, and it was overcoming that, depression came, all that type of thing. But really, that at the forefront was I just want to play with my kids. I just want to be able to be interactive and be the dad that I wanted to be and play with my kids. And the Western medical system, had no answers for me. Gave me a runaround, 18 months wasted, I like to say. Saw, dozen specialists over 18 months, misdiagnosis, ineffective treatments, everything. I finally just I had to empower myself. I had to take control of myself. And really, I just want to heal my back. I just want to be able to be able to move and play with my children. I found a alternative modality for that, but also made lifestyle changes to make that modality work better. And then lo and behold, making lifestyle changes, primarily nutrition in my case. The last 60 of those 100 pounds just melted away in months. And my autoimmune condition just mysteriously just went into remission. I haven't been sick in 10 years. That's all through COVID and everything. Have not been sick in 10 years. So, as colleagues, coworkers were like, people don't see the internal struggle, right? They don't know what I'm going through at home in my own mind. They just see the weight loss, just the outside. So, but people start asking me for that, and that's like, huh, that sparked the thing. Like maybe I need to help other people. Maybe I have a bigger mission than just trying to go up the corporate ladder or become vice president of XYZ whatever and make a lot of money. I thought maybe I have a bigger mission, so that's why I started my business originally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things, having a mission, but there's something you touched on there. That's the autoimmune disease. I mean, for somebody listening who might not understand what that is all about, what is an autoimmune disease? Or in your case, what was that autoimmune disease and what did it teach you that textbook couldn't?
Yeah, obviously autoimmune disease is like a broad category. Many things fall under that: MS, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, like many things. They never diagnosed me with anything, but all the tests. The last thing they thought I might have is leukemia, and sounds going to sound really dumb, but when they came back and said, "No, you don't have leukemia," there's just a small part, and many people can relate to this. There's a small part of you almost want a diagnosis, then you at least know what you have instead of this like mystery. um, so they never did diagnose me with anything. For me, and again, it looks different for people how their symptoms. For me, I would just get so sick, so I would like be coughing, and like coughing to the point of like almost vomiting, stuffed up nose, achy body, and I'd have that for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, basically as the seasons change. So 3 or 4 times a year for 3 or 4 weeks. That's a big chunk of your year when you're like coughing up a lung, nose runny, eyes watery, body aches. You can't like exercise. You're just popping pills so you can like get to work and like still work. So that's what it looked like for me. And again, I pretty much had that my entire life. It just becomes kind of normal. And at some point, and I forget exactly what year, but in my 20s, I was just like, why am I taking these medications? These from the pharmacy. They don't do anything. I'm sick the same amount of time. It's not like it makes me, you know, um, recover any faster. If I do nothing or I take the pills, it's the same thing. So why take these chemicals into my body? So that's kind of my story. And again, it's and certainly people had it way worse than me, but that was my how my symptoms manifested.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. I mean, with all of this, was there a moment you realized that the system wasn't giving you real answers? And what were the steps that you took?
Yeah, the very first. So even before I hurt my back, um, I went to, again, you're going through this cycle every few months of getting antibiotics or seeing your doctor. And then I stopped doing that. Then finally, it's like, what? I need to take control of this. My kids are young. I think we just had our first at that first, my oldest daughter. And I went to the doctor and I said, like, hey, like, I don't want to be sick like this. There's got to be something going on. Can we do more testing, et cetera? And he said, oh, wait, you have a young kid, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, and are they in daycare? I said, yes. He's like, oh, well, then you just expect to be sick for the next 5 years. Like that was his answer. Like, it's needless to say, I fired that doctor. Like that was the last time I saw him. That's not the answer. Pills is not necessarily I mean, don't get me wrong. Modern medicine is great and it plays a role, but just pills for everything, just live with it. That's not the answer. So that's when I realized like I need to empower myself. And I had already started doing that research of what could I do for my autoimmune condition, for the sickness, what could I do to lose weight, etc. But before I figured it out, I hurt my back, and then that really was the impetus to then really like dive deep into like trying to figure it out for myself.
Wow, I believe somebody listening might be going through something and definitely will be interested to really get a lot of what you're unfolding here. And you work with clients to solve complex health challenges and even reverse what you call biological aging. And for someone listening, what does that actually mean in practical terms?
Right. I'll answer the second part first. So everyone knows our age, right? Our chronological age when we were born, it's on our license, driver's license, etc. But when I talk about biological age, it's how old our cells are. How old are we on the inside? And different systems, your heart could be like older than your like liver and vice versa, et cetera, et cetera. But as an average, and we can test this. There's a test for this. It's a simple blood finger prick, and it text all these markers in your blood and will actually give you an aggregate of your age. Now, if you're ahead, so let's say you're 50 years old chronologically, but you're, you know, 72, 22 years older. And I've had clients who've been 22 years older biologically than their chronology. It's like you're on a slippery slope, a bad path. But we can reverse this. Lifestyle primarily, some advanced uh, modalities, et cetera, et cetera. You can actually start to reverse that. And I've had almost every single client that I work with within a year, if they're committed to the full program, and maybe we get to that, maybe we don't, but you can reverse your biological age by 10 years in a 1 year span. So again, it's a gauge. That one number, your biological age, is a gauge. I think it's a better predictor than like blood pressure and heart rate and cholesterol. It's a better overall predictor of your overall health, is that one number. How old are you on the inside? How old are your cells? And then to the first part of your question, many clients come, not all of them, but many come to me. They've seen 2 or 3 specialists. I'm like, I'm not getting any answers, just like I didn't get any answers. And when you actually talk to them, it's like, yeah, your doctor didn't run this test, didn't run this test, didn't run this test. Like, you have no data. You have or very minimal. You have very minimal data. Like, how can you make proper decisions if you don't have the data? And that's why I really empower, first I did with myself and my family, and now with my clients, to really get all the data so you can make the best decision on your individual health, because there's no one size fits all health for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that comes to mind. I mean, let's say living in survival health versus living in performing health. How would you reflect on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's unfortunate, but too many people, and the system is almost designed that way, to just be surviving, just getting through. And that was me. And I was a young man. I have people all the time. I talk to somebody today, 80 years old, and they're list of all their things they have going on. And I'm just like, God, geez, like I wish they would have taken care of themselves, like, or took some action 30 or 40 years ago. Not that they can't improve, but and many people are going to resonate this. You're just, again, like I said, like you're just trying to make it to the end of the day. So I am just exhausted by after lunch or whatever the case may be. I don't have any energy for my children. Just make it to the weekend so I have, I can sleep in, whatever the case may be. That next vacation, right? That was me. That's many people's lives. Versus energy. I can give back to my community. I can be present with my children. I can start a business. I can, rise to in my career, whatever the thing is for somebody, right? When you have that different, it really starts with energy, right? Our mitochondria in our cells, right? The energy power plants. It starts there. And when you have that, like you can do so much more and in faster time, right? You can do more. Like someone who has like a lot of energy and is healthy and vibrant, has vitality, they can do more in 6 hours than somebody does in 10. And that's another benefit that people get with doing this type of work, whether with me or otherwise, right? When you have that energy, you can just be more productive, and you're like, oh, that person, oh, they're doing this, they're doing, wow, that person, oh, amazing. Yeah, because they have the energy to pour into whatever they want, including themselves and their family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, energy and productivity is what we always want. Sometimes life hits us in ways that we don't expect. I mean, with that's definitely what we want. You've mentioned the traditional health system, especially, I mean, most parts of this developing world. Why do you believe many traditional systems fail people when it comes to chronic health and long-term vitality? And what can we do?
Yeah, great question. We could talk about this one question alone for like over an hour. The system is really designed. Let me take a step back. The current system is fantastic for acute care. You get in a car accident, you break your leg, et cetera, like fantastic. We have top notch, we're able to keep people alive for a bunch of things. But when it comes to chronic issues, autoimmune condition, et cetera, very poor, failing grade, 10%. It's the way the system, and it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or Australia, US, wherever, like you said, the Western world for the most part, really the whole world, really, the way we incentivize medicine, and again, that's a whole topic we don't have time for today, is incentivized to short 5-minute appointments, quick turnarounds, take the pill, do this procedure, whatever. That's what actually generates the most revenue. And that's unfortunate how it's going. Like many people, there's Ayurvedic medicine, there's traditional Chinese medicine, and that plays a nice blend in. Now, again, my approach is very data driven, very science driven. We have this available, but not to the masses yet. Yet, costs are coming down, accessibility is becoming, even just from like when I did some of the things that I work on with my clients now, 7, 8 years ago, the costs have come down, or it's just like, oh, this wasn't even available commercially 8 years ago, and now it is. So we're getting there. Things will become more for the masses over time, and just can we hold on long enough to benefit from some of these things?
Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to summarize a few things which you talked about here, and just so that we can reflect a little bit on it as well. You talked about shifting the paradigm. I mean, in a lot of other things you've talked in the beginning, and there was also something related to really empowerment or things that will become available, or that are available, or that are getting to be available soon, or that is coming. For people to rely less. I mean, we talked about the system and the areas where the system is failing us, especially when it comes to chronic health. I mean, like you said, the other pieces are good, working well, but when it comes to chronic health, long-term vitality, that area where it's failing us. So, what does true health autonomy look like? I mean, in your own opinion?
Sorry, true health autonomy, is that what you said?
Yes.
True health autonomy, in my opinion, is one, having access to the data. So, again, I live here in Canada, so we have socialized medicine. So, right, there's only a limit what was be available to me. And I'm fairly young. So there's certain things that somebody who's 20 or 30 years older for me, they will run that test, they'll run that panel for that person. But oh, you're too young, you're not in the risk factor. So we're not going to run that for you. I was like, but I want to be preventative. Helping me now at a younger age or a 20-year-old or whatever the case may be saves so much more, money to the system later on, right? We work on we're trying to solve problems after they already become problems, instead of trying to preventative, right? We don't really have preventative medicine. We have reactionary medicine. So giving people access to things that we already have, and then what's new and coming. And right now it's for the elite or the very wealthy. But again, it's coming down. When I think back to, the 80s, like 30, 40 years ago, like stem cells, like, oh my God, and this is like you're taking babies and whatever, like that never really was true. It's just a bunch of media things. But now when you talk about stem cells, it's like it's much more widely available. It's not inexpensive, but like it's available. You can, not in Canada, but in the US, like you can find it almost everywhere. And the prices come down. Depends what you need and et cetera. There's a lot of factors to it. But like things that weren't even available to even the wealthiest 30 years ago, 20 years ago, is now available to, the middle class. So it's becoming more accessible. That will take time. But I think we really have to empower ourselves with demanding that we have access to at least, more than just the basics. And some things are going to be private and going to be a little bit more expensive, at least at this point. And then like being able to like know where to go. And that's, also what I don't do everything. I'm not a doctor, right? I'm doing stem cells on people, but I refer them to if that's, I think, the best course of action for them based on what their problems are. But like just knowing where to go and what you can get and demanding more from your doctor or your provider or your healthcare system, what have you.
Oh yeah, those are really good tips, and it really helps, somebody listening to understand how best to take their own health into their own hands and be able to move forward and support themselves. One of the things you work on is mostly helping clarity, especially in the midst of lots of media noise. Where, in your opinion, is there more media noise in creating confusion than fear?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's something I've been talking about recently a lot more. Um, there's obviously, limitations, and I'm not trying to throw doctors under the bus. There's some bad ones, of course, like there is in any profession. But again, sometimes they're handcuffed by the system, even if they know something. if it's not in the standard of care, they can't actually legally tell you. Otherwise, they get their risk of being outside of their regulations. So they might know about some procedure or some new cutting edge something, but they can't even actually tell you if they know it all. Then you have a lot of people that are, wearing this coach hat, got some, certification, whatever. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of good people out there too, but there's many people that they actually don't know what they're doing. They listen to somebody else's podcast and take that as their own for advice. Or they, oh, I saw something trending. Maybe if I talk about that, that'll trend too. And I'll, whatever. Like there's a lot of that. And then there's people, just the social media influencers who it's really like just sponsorship. Who's paying them the most dollars to promote something? Now, perfectly transparent. I promote things too, but only if I've actually used them myself. I have to test every single product, glasses, supplement, whatever. So before I will, and it has to work. If it doesn't work, I don't talk about it. I can't even tell you, Robert. Maybe you get the same. I've probably turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars in endorsements because I was like, this is garbage. I wouldn't take this myself, so I'm not gonna recommend it. So there's a lot of snake oil stuff out there, and there always has been. There always has been people trying to make a quick buck. So really, again, empower people, to do your own research. Talk to your doctor, talk to another professional, talk to a highly qualified coach. Look up, on Perplexity or whatever, and do like good research for yourself first. Now, that's not all of it, but then at least you have the first steps to ask better questions when you do talk to someone in person. When you do go in front of your doctor or a coach you might want to hire or a personal trainer you might want to hire, you can ask them better questions when you're first empowered yourself. So I would say everyone that you need to empower yourself. Your body, this vessel, is the most important asset you have. You better take care of it.
Yeah, empowerment, really empowering ourselves and really taking control of our body. I agree. It's one of the most important assets that we own, which is our body. Without the body, we can't do anything. And once sickness hits, that's it, right? It's so hard, like you said, playing with your kids, doing some of those things on a day-to-day basis. It's a pain, and I mean, it hurts not only physically but internally, just because yes, we can't do the things we want to do. I mean, talking about a lot of these other aspects that you have touched on, what would you say is one of the most dangerous misconceptions about aging that exist out there?
I think the most dangerous misconception about aging is that when you get to some arbitrary number, 60 is the new 40 or, freedom 55, whatever these numbers are, that it's like, oh, okay, well, I had a good run. It's downhill from here. You're planting the seed mentally by accepting this. I want to break that shift. And it's like, no. And Robert, we haven't never talked before, but I have a publicly stated goal to be a centenarian plus, over 100. And that's not in a home or in a care facility with tubes up my nose. No, I'm talking about living in my own home, stand up paddleboarding in the summer, doing all the things I love to do, playing with my great great grandkids. That's my vision of aging, right? So there's a mental aspect to this. So, and don't things are going to happen. We're going to get something or whatever, and we're going to fall down and break our leg or need a hip replacement, whatever. These things will happen, right? But I think first it starts with the mentality of like, no, there is more for me. Why can't I live to whatever someone's number is? Nobody has to live to over 100 like I do, but like healthy till 80, healthy till 90, 95, whatever it is. That concept of like, oh, well, now I'm retired, or now I hit 55, or now I hit 65, or whatever the numbers are. My dad passed at 74, and like, like so many people just mentally condition themselves to have a decline. And I want to help people break that, especially now that we have these new technologies that can like literally, like I said earlier, reverse your biological age at a cellular level. There's no reason why we can't live, well into our 90s and beyond.
Yeah, that's a solid piece there that you just shared, which is, I mean, a lot of those things that we build mentally, and which definitely what we, I mean, mentally, anything we build mentally can easily develop into what eventually comes to pass. And I mean, just really keeping those things in our head can, yeah, cause so many things, which
Yeah,
is
Robert,
why,
I forgot that. I just want to share this really quick. They did this study a couple of years ago now, where just the attitude about aging, about healthy aging, they tracked these people for I can't remember 10 years or some it's not an insignificant amount of time. And they found that just your attitude towards aging, your attitude towards healthy aging equated to 7.5 years, 7.5 years of extra life. Right? Who doesn't want that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, attitude was aging. 7.5, that's a lot. It's not a long period of time. Imagine a kid that was born and it's 7 years plus. I
Yeah,
mean,
that might be seeing your grandchild or your great grandchild being born.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, now that we are beginning to understand some of these ideas mentally and, some of these directions, how can someone begin reclaiming control without becoming overwhelmed? I mean, with everything and all the information that is shared out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can get overwhelming. When I work with someone and we get all these tests done, literally we get like hundreds of pages of data. And I always encourage my clients, like, you should read it, but really that's why I'm here, is to boil it down to like some actionable steps that are really based on them. So I understand it can totally be overwhelming. I would suggest that for most people, focus on the one thing. What's the one thing, the one habit, or one direction? So it might, for some people, it might be like, I just need to eat better. I need to lose weight. I need to work on this number, cholesterol, blood pressure, whatever it is. I just need to move more. Other people, it's going to be something different. It might be like, oh, knowing about my genetic factors, or it might be, oh, healing my gut, knowing about my microbiome. So it's going to be different for everyone, but whatever that one thing is for you. And sometimes we don't know, honestly, and let's be true. And that's why I do a whole battery of tests. We actually know what is the thing, because sometimes the presenting symptom is actually not the root cause. So sometimes it takes more than one testing, but whatever your intuition or you're leaning towards, like, try and get that one thing sorted out, because it's our bodies, it's one system. It's a cascading effect. You work on your cardiovascular health, it helps your liver and your kidneys. You work on your liver, helps your brain. Like our body's one system, right? So any positive thing you do in one aspect of your health will have a cascading effect to other parts of your health.
Yeah. I mean, you've talked about a couple of things, and I really just want to pick here from your own experience, just so that somebody listening might be able to learn that as well. How do you personally balance innovation, cutting edge science, like you mentioned, research, with grounded practical application on your health?
Great question. I truly believe in we need a balance, right? The most simplest things to do are really ancestral, things that our great grandparents did, right? It all starts with, like, yeah, doing stem cells and all these fancy stuff. That's the little bit at the end. That's the extra. But like, you need, eat real whole foods. You need to sleep properly. You need to get sun exposure, right? We need to get that light. We need to, like, ground ourselves. We need to walk on the earth. We need to move, right? We're bimodal creatures. We need to walk. We need to have movement. We need to keep, our blood flowing, all that stuff. These are, foundational, simple things we've been doing since man was on this planet. Let's start there. If you're not doing those things, like, that's a good start. Then we can add in, like, fine tuning things, tweaking the nutrition that's based on your biology, not some cookie cutter approach or what some doctor told you or some influencer or whatever, like actually based on your biology. Then you can dial in supplementation to find any deficiencies. And then we can, like, okay, now we want to start, like, doing some cool things like stem cells and whatever, blah, blah, blah type of thing to actually reverse that biological age. But, like, start with the foundation, the things that are, grandma or grandma's grandma told us to do, you know, that's where it all starts. So it doesn't have to be expensive, and it's very easy to get started.
Yeah, starting with the foundation. That's so key. So, Deepak, you mentioned at one point in our conversation, which is, I'm curious, and I believe a few listeners might also be curious about this. You're building your own path towards becoming a centenarian. I mean, living above 100 years, which is amazing. I mean, I have a goal to get above that as well. But what daily disciplines reflects that long-term vision?
Great question. Great question. And I'll give you the average day. Some things happen not every day, but, I get up and get movement. Well, first, big glass of water. Get up. I have a dog, so I got to take my dog out, take him for a walk, get some movement right away. I live here in Canada, so it's this time of year. It's like dark, so I got to
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I mean, thank you for being open to really sharing a lot of your practical tips, what you do as a person to be able to get to that goal or that vision, which is, I mean, which is really, it's attainable. I mean, like just from your explanation and everything, it's actually attainable. Now, how do you also maintain clarity and also some resilience while guiding others through this high stake health transformation?
That's a great question. So yeah, when I work with, and you see this in other health professions where um, particularly nurses, caregivers, that's when you can take on a lot of the stress from your clients or patients or what have you. I tend to work with, again, very high performers, often, not exclusively, but fairly often. And this is high stakes. Health is high stakes, right? So for myself, I'm just as susceptible, especially when I'm doing any sort of type of energy work with my clients, to bring that on to myself. So twofold. One, I have to clear that. So sometimes that's exercise for me. Sometimes that's just getting out. Sometimes just some breath work. But I also do some of the things I work on with my clients. I have done to me. So I have my colleagues help me clear my mind, do some modalities, timeline therapy, hypnosis, etc., just so I can be grounded myself, so that I can show up to be the best for my clients and helping them on their journeys. Because where I'm at now, while my health is not perfect by any means, it's much improved than it was, and I do have, like I said, goals to be another 60 years on this planet. But I have to be physically and mentally capable enough so I can give it my all to my clients. And again, it goes back to foundations too. Am I eating right? Am I drinking enough water? Am I staying hydrated? Am I sleeping? These are foundations, but then it's also that energetically to be clear, so I can give it to not only my clients but also my family as well.
And that's yeah, that's really amazing. It's really nice to know. Um, so just looking a little bit ahead, and when you look at the future of healthcare in general, human performance, what kind of mindset shift would you say is urgently needed, especially when people are looking at getting better health, longevity in life, and things like that?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see the shift now with more and more people. And I think it's somewhat generational as well, where more and more people are realizing that, and again, I'm not trying to throw the medical industry under the bus, but they're realizing there are limitations. And the frontline, doctor, for the most part, nurse, et cetera, they're, like I said earlier, they're kind of handcuffed with what they can do. And it's maybe more of a systemic problem. But more people are waking up that there is more beyond the traditional medical system. And that could mean Ayurvedic, that could mean Chinese medicine, that could mean seeing a functional medicine doctor, et cetera, et cetera. That could mean seeing someone like me. But I think the more that people are questioning and empowering themselves, I think we overall have a shift in humanity. As people up level themselves, become one, more aware, more empowered, and then actually making changes to their health, both physical and mental, I think that raises the vibration, that raises the frequency of those people and those around them. And that just trickles into like a change at a global, universal level, even. And I think that's the direction we're headed over time. Is it going as fast as I would like? No, but I think we're headed in that right direction.
That's beautiful. So as people get more aware, more empowered, the shift is beginning to happen, which is what we all love to see. So Deepak, I want to give you an opportunity to reflect. Is there something about longevity or something that's misunderstood or something about health that you want somebody listening today to understand?
Yeah, I think there's a misconception. There's many, of course, but one that I hear often, and I'm hoping to play a part in breaking this, is many people, they have this notion of like you can pick any disease or affliction, like, oh, my grandma had this, my mom had this, I'm gonna get this. My mom had it, my aunt had it, my cousin had it, I'm gonna get this. Whatever the case may be, and they're really talking about genetics. Oh, we're genetic. It's a genetic flaw, whatever, blah blah blah, and they're like resounding something. It goes back to that mindset piece we talked about a few minutes ago. It's like, no, it's lifestyle. Your mom and your aunt, they had the same lifestyle, and yes, they maybe have more predisposition to a certain thing. If we did a genetic test on them, it might even tell us that, but that is not your destiny. Most genes, I'm not going to say all, but most genes can be turned on or off depending on your lifestyle, how you live. So you're not destined to the same fate of those that came before you if you change your situation, if you change your lifestyle. So that's the biggest thing. I think too many people just feel like, oh, well, that's how it is. Like our family is this, our family has heart disease, whatever. It's like, no, that's not the case. You can break this cycle. I really want to empower people with that notion and that message that no, you are not set to the same fate that your ancestors had just because you have the same genetics. You might even have that propensity to be more afflicted, have a higher chance of XYZ. But if you take the steps now, that's not your life sentence.
Yeah, if you take the step now, that's not it's not, it's not like you must inherit, especially those significant health challenges because you had a grandpa, a grandma, a mother, or father that used to have some things, which means we can always take those steps and it will definitely help our overall health. So as we wrap up a few things here, Deepak, we have a tradition at the Voice of Impact, and we have a word die, which I normally am trying to show on the screen here so you can see what we call some theme words. And they are really powerful theme words, and they were selected simply because we always want to leave our listener or one listener with something. And I will ask you to choose two of these. I will definitely just say them out loud so you can choose two of them. One will reflect your own journey, and then one for a listener listening today. So it's make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience. I repeat again, make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience. So choose two, one for you, one for a listener, and just speak to it.
Yeah, I think for myself, I'm going to choose the word first came to mind is overcome because I have overcome a lot, but I don't want to live in the past. I'm going forward in the future, so I'm going to pick stronger. And people might think stronger is like physically stronger, and that is a goal. I run little experiments on myself and play around with variables to see if I can get stronger and get my lean muscle mass up or get my body fat down, like all these type of things. But really stronger means to me just like that internal fortitude, that mental toughness. And that is something, if I could just expand a bit, the physical challenge, all that I talked about earlier, that was challenging enough, right? The autoimmune condition, the back injury, the weight loss. But it was really the next phase. The next identity I had to embrace was like the mental and emotional change that I needed after coming through the physical change. So for me, stronger means, becoming more, not only the physical goals I want, but also like the mental and emotional and spiritual, growth that I want to be stronger in. So that's for myself, that's the word I pick for stronger. For the listener, hey, I get it. I've been there. It might be ourselves, it might be our loved one that we're seeing suffering, whatever the case may be. And it's heart-wrenching sometimes, and it's painful. And sometimes we feel frustrated. We don't know. We're not getting the answer from the doctor. We're not, whatever the case may be, but patience. On a couple fold. One, the system will change. Like I said, collectively, the vibration will lift. The person you're meant to find, that teacher, that coach, that leader that you're looking for will emerge when the time is right, as well as technology and science is only getting better. So like if we can just hold on and stay healthy, both physically and mentally and spiritually, you know, something will come along that can cure us or alleviate the pain or what have you. So I would just say patience. Really, just be patient. We have to empower ourselves, but like be patient with it. Don't beat yourself up about what you may be suffering with or maybe a loved one might be suffering with.
Stronger and patience. Two very beautiful themes. And for somebody listening today, just be patient and just keep going from everything that Deepak has shared with us. So, Deepak, there's somebody listening who definitely would want to connect with you, want to learn more about your work. Can you speak to someone who, really might be interested to want to connect? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social medias. LinkedIn is the platform that I'm the most active on. But I'd say the easiest is actually just go to my website, deepaksainihealth.com, my first name, last name, health.com. There's some free resources there you can download. We're doing a bit of a revamp. There'll be even more free resources in the near future. Learn more about me, my story, what I offer, how I work with people, and you can contact me from there as well.
Okay. Deepak, thank you for reminding us that longevity isn't accidental, it's intentional. And our conversation together today reminds us that health is not just about treatment, it's about ownership, it's about clarity, it's about daily alignment with the future and what we inhabit as human beings. And to the person listening right now, your body is not your enemy. Your future is not predetermined. And your next decade can be stronger than your last. I mean, Deepak has shared a lot of health tips with us in his own personal experiences and what he's working on as a consultant and really a voice within the health sector, especially longevity, which is key. And I think most of you want to live longer and be, more than 100 years. And there's some amazing tips that he shared. And we really, really appreciate that. Just talking about us when Ndoping and Co-Performance designers and strategy coaches, we support entrepreneurs and nonprofits in establishing a sustainable system for measurable output. We coach, we clarify, we redefine, we support organizations on entrepreneurial strategy, and we build capacity for alignment of a system that gives you back time, establishes a culture, and provides the strength to withstand challenges during business turbulence. Our website is www.ndopingco.com and our business email is coaching@ndopingco.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Ndoping Coaching, on Instagram, Ndoping_CEO. And today we had Deepak on our show. Thank you so much for your time
Thank
and
you for having
all
me,
the
Robert. I
great.
appreciate it.
Until next time, your voices matter. Keep learning, keep rebuilding, Protect your health. Everything else depends on it.
It's very simple. Empower as many people as possible. Empower as many leaders as possible. Touch as many, professionals as I can. Be able to make a difference.